Let's talk about security in an ever more hostile world. Hey everybody, it's Michael with Asymmetrical Preparedness. We see what's going on around us in the world, and you should know that this world, our country, where we live, all around us, is becoming more dangerous. Criminals are emboldened by the lack of law enforcement, their ability to react properly in time, and their funding, their manning levels, and the fact that their hands are tied and they're not able to do their job. And for some people that live further from law enforcement where response times are already longer, that's also a concern, a thought process. So what can we do to better our security posture for this world that we live in? There's a lot we can do. And a lot of it, though, I'm going to say depends on the situation you're in, because it does. Your security and how you secure your location, your family, if you live in an apartment in a city, is different than the way I can secure my property living rural. Same with suburbia. There's different applications for everything. I have more of an ability to throw up, tall fences with barbed wire on them and stuff like that, and nobody would really even care. You can't do that if you live in suburbia. There's a lot of more regulations. There's a lot more rules. There's also the fact that it would probably freak out your neighbors and make you an obvious target. So security is one of those things that really comes down to the fact that security really, at its bare roots, is an illusion. So there's two trains of thought behind it. There is high visibility defenses and security, which is like ADT security signs, cameras, lights, fences, watchtowers, things like that. Things that are visible and painfully obvious to others. Then there is the gray approach, or the low-vis approach. Low-vis approach may be things like the fact that from all the way over there on my property to all the way over there on my property, wrapping around, are blackberry bushes that are between 8 and 10 feet tall and about 20 to 30 feet deep. Now that's a security feature. One reason why I keep the blackberries there. I know that for the most part, nobody's going to come through there. And if they do, they're going to make so much noise that I'll know they're coming anyway. Then there's things like what's behind me. Not the tool, but the raised bed. Oh, that's just a raised bed. You're right. It is a raised bed. But what is it also? It is a shooting position. It is at least concealment. It is cover for a lot of situations. Not for everything though, because there's some things that will go through all the logs on that side, through all the dirt and through the logs on this side and still get you. Yes. But it's part of the plan. I strategically locate where my raised beds are so that I can use them for cover if the situation dictates it. Before we go any further though, please hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell for all so you get the updates. Even though we know what happens to like-minded channels like us and on this platform and how we don't receive the visibility, you guys know what I mean? But hit that thumbs up, share the videos, comment below, all these things. Help out all the prepper channels, all the like-minded channels, anybody that they meaning this platform, the powers that be, the liberal agenda, the whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of different people that think a lot of different things. Somebody made a comment on the video yesterday, day before, something like that, talking about channels who just say they, and they don't quantify they. Because everybody has a different idea of who they is. They meaning the government. They meaning the shadow government. They meaning the deep state. The Bilderbergers, the Illuminati, the New World Order, whatever. What we're talking about, whenever I say they, I mean the people that are actually in power and that actually control things around us. We're their little pawns, and that's what they means. I shouldn't have to say like names and addresses and stuff like that. But anyway, security. What are some other things you can do? Like I said, it depends. But if you're living, no matter where you're living, apartment, suburban, rural, there are certain things that you can do. Like make sure all your locks are in order. Make sure that the handle lock is in order. Your deadbolt's in order. Another thing you can do is your door frame. Your door frame. That will help. You can upgrade that. And I'll tell you how. Pretty easily. That is one of the weakest parts. So if somebody's kicking a door, it doesn't matter really how many deadbolts you have in there. If your door frame is not properly secured, then they're just going to bust it. That's the frame part that's actually going to break. It's not the deadbolts. So what you can do is a lot of door frames, you can replace the metal door frame, but even your existing door frame, I can tell you something, how to upgrade that without going through much hassle at all. So most door frames, they got screws in them, maybe this long, maybe that long, whatever. What you can do is buy some nail or some screws that are that long, heavy duty screws, not much bigger than the screws that are already in there because you're going to utilize those pre-drilled holes. But what you can do is make sure they're a little tiny bit bigger so that they really grab deep into the wood, into the 2x4s and everything for the frame of the door. That's actually not just the frame, but what's behind the frame. So what you do is you just pull one screw out at a time, put a longer screw in, replace that screw with that screw, all the way around your door frame. Very easy. Cost of screws. And using an electric drill doesn't take that much time at all. That's one thing you can do. Windows are a weak spot, obviously, because everybody can just bust a window. True. And there's bars for windows, there's braces for windows, there's locks for windows, and all those help. But the fact is, a window can still be busted in, and somebody can still gain access. And that's just one of those things. There aren't too many things you can do about that. Some people talk about, I've seen on Amazon even sells it, or they used to sell it, was made by 3M. It's a bullet resistant, like a window tint type stuff that you can put on your windows. But basically what that does is it just kind of holds the window together when it shatters. It may provide some ballistic protection. I even actually thought about doing that maybe for like vehicular purposes. Taking 2 layers of that, putting like a layer of it on the inside of the window and putting a layer of it on the outside of the window. So maybe it would work, but I don't know how well that works. But anyway, that's one of the things you can do. You can also board up your windows if it's a high threat type situation. You can use metal panels, metal sheets. There are lots of different ways to do it. Another thing about security though is access points. And that depends, it's one of those depends things. For me, I could do things like a magnetic driveway sensor, a motion sensor, put motion sensors. I could even put motion sensors, in the couple areas that allow access to my home area here, the main area of our house, to mitigate that. Also, lighting. Lighting definitely deters a lot of maybe the lesser motivated criminals. But we're not talking about lesser motivated criminals. I'm talking about like SHTF. And the fact that the grid will probably be down. So your ADT security system or your whatever security system won't have power for it anyway, so it won't work. There are things like defensive tools and knowing how to use them. That is an important part of security, an important part of your security plan. But having things like drills, fire drills, hopefully you have those for your children so they know what to do in your house in case of a fire in different locations, so they know how to get out of the house. Same kind of thing if it's a home invasion or a high threat environment where they need to be able to get out to safety. Or you and your family, whatever. It doesn't have to be children, but access points and ingress, meaning coming in, and egress, usually the same thing. But training and practicing drills, drilling your family. What do you do when? What do you do if? Where are the defensive tools? How do we use them? Etc. Then there's things like, body armor, stuff like that. But there's a lot to home security. And a lot of it, unfortunately, though, all the sensors and the lights and all the stuff that, all the gadgets and gadgets and stuff that people sell are based off of grid power or having power. Some of those, the motion sensors that work off of ham radio frequencies instead of Wi-Fi, which are the ones I like because they are standalone. They're solar powered, they're battery backup, etc. that works off ham radio frequencies. So even if you lose power or somebody cuts your line or cell towers go down or your Wi-Fi goes down, they still work. That's a good thing. And just because these are sold for as driveway sensors doesn't mean you can't use them in other ways. You can use them as like those motion sensors I'm talking about. Use them in your backyard, use them in your side yard, use them in your front yard. You could set up a perimeter of them all the way around your house. And they're not that expensive. So that may be one way you can do it. There is so much to security. I could talk for hours and hours and hours about security and the vulnerabilities of security. I used to do that. I used to assess vulnerabilities in military secure facilities, figuring out ways to get in, bypass systems, etc. So I know what the weaknesses are, and I know the fact that security is basically an illusion. So what are some of the things you can do about it also, though? If you can't put up those fences now because of the current situation and who's watching, etc., what you can do is you can get the equipment, the parts, the pieces, everything needed to put up fencing, razor wire, barbed wire, chain link fencing, wooden fencing, whatever floats your boat. You can get those supplies on hand now so that when things do go south, you can put up security, and with the understanding, though, that that's probably going to be high vis. So it may detract some people from coming to you and say, oh, that looks like a harder target, I'm going to go over here after the softer target. But it also signals people that, okay, you got some serious security up, so you probably have something worth taking. So if there are greater numbers and they have a greater level of motivation and or training, equipment, etc., stuff like that, they may pick you out because of your security, your high visibility security stance. So it's a here or there. It's a decision you're going to have to make. I'm just here to give you the ideas, to empower you guys to start thinking about security. This world is changing. It is getting more dangerous. It is getting more violent, and it will continue to do so, especially as tensions raise over the midterm elections and post that, as well as on the world stage. So these are some things that I hope you guys think about. I hope you guys take seriously. Look around. There's so many different, I'm not going to talk about all these different security products because there are so many. There's like door bars. There's, there are so many things when it comes to home security and or vehicle security, property security that, I've done videos about this. I've done videos about vulnerability assessments and stuff. I think most of that stuff, the deep stuff, is on Patreon. Links in the description below if you want to check it out. It's $1 a month, whatever. If you don't want to, whatever. Yes, I've been receiving some comments lately, I'm not about the money, but I push Patreon, all that stuff like that. No, I don't push Patreon. I just mention it because I can actually, I actually have free speech there. I actually can speak my mind. I can actually call this what it is instead of a defensive tool, etc. So I really like that. And yeah, I just do it because I feel it's important and I want to get the word out. And the vast majority of my content is here on YouTube for free. Anyway, I get it. Some people are just going to be angry about everything, whatever. But please think about ways that you can better your security. There's a lot to it, and it's hard for me to speak about specifics because, like I said, if you're living in an apartment, is way different than if you're living in an urban house or a suburban house or a rural property. Way, way, way different. What I would love to do, would be awesome, is if I was, relocating and on a bunch of land and building a new property. Yeah, it would be sweet to build it purpose-built for security and with security in mind. Yeah, that's one thing. Steve Smith, the author of the Stone Mount series, that's his approach for the whole stone mount thing, where the people live and how they bought the property and built it with defensive abilities in mind. That would be awesome. But the fact is, most of us are where we are at, and we have to find ways to more effectively secure ourselves and be able to defend what we have. So these are just some thoughts. I may do follow-on videos a little more in depth or a little more specific about certain areas or something like that. I just want to start it out here, throw it out there. I love you guys. Have a wonderful day, and blessings to you and yours.